All right, hi everyone. I have 6:01 on my clock. We've got a good amount of people showing up already, so I think I'm going to go ahead and start. So welcome to the 2025 version of the Storm Anxiety webinar. I'm so glad to be able to put this on for you. Thank you for hanging on through the roller coaster of all the cancellations and all the reschedulings. But it's finally here, no more cancellations, and let's get some power over that fear of storms. So to introduce myself before we get too far, I'm meteorologist Rebecca Koppel, and I am at the National Weather Service office in Lincoln, Illinois. This webinar is not focusing on solely Central Illinois. We have partnered with all of our Illinois-based offices, and we are expanding our horizons a little. So in the questions, during the Q&A part, we will have some other meteorologists or different people throughout NOAA, NWS. There's about 5 or 6 of us on, and we're going to answer your questions. We've got people from Chicago, from St. Louis, and from Paducah on, along with Commander Cami Cooper. She is the National Weather Service Behavior, Health, and Wellness Officer, and we're going to get to hear from her as well. So let's dig in. So overall, what we're going to talk about is who we are. What is storm anxiety after all? Make sure that you do know what your fear is. What different coping and treatment methods are out there, and the National Weather Service resources. The coping and treatment section is the newest section that we've added on since last year, thanks to our new collaboration with Commander Cami Cooper. So who are we? What is the Weather Service? The Weather Service is within NOAA, and in NOAA there's all different types of aspects, anything from oceans to atmosphere to marine life, but we are the National Weather Service. There are 122 weather forecast offices across the Weather Service. What those weather forecast offices do, they provide your daily forecast on what the weather is going to be like. There is national centers that give you outlooks well ahead of time to give you an idea of what the weather's going to be, sometimes even 2 to 3 weeks out. Especially if you look at the Climate Prediction Center, they go 3 months out. The National Weather Service has all sorts of different jobs, such as meteorologists, computer and IT specialists, communications, admin assistants, physicists, you name it, we have it. There are 92 offices across the country that release upper air balloons, which is they send up some instruments and they collect data and it gets inputted into our national models. Some are like the GFS and the NAM. You can find them by just Googling them. They're available for free on many different websites. And our upper air data helps improve those models each day to give us a better and more accurate forecast as we move through to an event. So do you know what county you live in? If you're in Illinois, this map here is a map of all the counties, and it shows which office covers your specific county. Now, if you're outside of Illinois, we do have a map of the entire United States, and you can find which office it is. And the way you can find that is if you see these 3 letters here, you just got to go to weather.gov/ and then type in the 3 letters and it'll take you straight to their website. Or you just go to weather.gov and click on the map and it'll take you to your area. One thing that's important is knowing where you live, because if you know where you live, it makes it easier for you to know what your forecast is going to be, if there's any warnings or watches issued for your location, and how to better prepare by knowing these forecasts. Our mission statement is to provide weather, water, and climate data, forecasts, warnings, and impact-based decision support services for the protection of life and property and the enhancement of the national economy. We are 24/7, 365. We are open. We have to be here doing the forecast during holidays. When everybody else is off, we're here. We're here overnight. Our phone lines are open. You can call us to get forecasts. And all of our services are free, paid by your tax dollars. So why is this important to me? Why is storm anxiety important to me? So I was born and raised in Southern Illinois, and I branched out and went to college in South Carolina and Central Illinois. I got to experience all different types of weather, anything from 30 below degrees and 12 inches of snow to hurricanes making landfall. I was in South Carolina during Hurricane Florence and Hurricane Michael. And I've seen everything in between. From a really young age, like barely able to walk, I was terrified of anything weather, whether it was the wind in the trees on a slight breezy, clear blue sky day, or some raindrops falling. I was just inconsolable. So the more I learned about weather and how it's formed and how it works by watching TV shows, I was the storm chasers on Discovery Channel generation and reading books about weather, the more I learned, the less afraid I got. And that brought me to my career today as a meteorologist. There's more ways to cope with your storm anxiety later on in this webinar, especially some of the ways that I coped. And I hope that this is going to be helpful for you as much as it was helpful for me. But I do have a little secret. My little secret is I am still slightly afraid of storms. If I do not have a radar handy or have not paid attention to the forecast for several weeks, which is when I'm like on vacation or something, I'm inconsolable. So as long as I have my radar, I'm good to go. But I still do have this fear and still use these coping mechanisms today. One disclaimer I have is us meteorologists are not medical professionals. I personally cannot give you any advice on your fear. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Go to your doctor, go to your therapist, go to your family members and ask for help. It's okay. But one person who can give you advice is Commander Cami Cooper, which I'm going to pass it to her.
All right. It's evening. Good evening, everyone. I am Cami Cooper. I am a nurse officer in the United States Public Health Service. I am an East Coast girl, born and raised. And kind of my tie-in, as a public health service officer, I often deploy for healthcare emergencies linked to weather-related events, oftentimes. So hurricanes, tornadoes, their impact on communities and hospital infrastructure, things of that nature. And people still need services. So I've deployed many times as it relates to the weather and its impact. And lastly, I'm a Girl Scout for life. So I think that it's always important to kind of know where you are, what you stand, and know what the resources are that are available to you to support you at all times. So let's talk about storm anxiety. Let's go ahead and define it. Weather-related anxiety it's real, and it's often really misunderstood as a condition. It involves a heightened fear or anxiety that's triggered from weather events, such as thunderstorms or hurricanes or tornadoes. And the condition is particularly common in children and individuals who have experienced some type of traumatic weather event or natural disaster. When we think about behaviors associated with weather-related anxiety, oftentimes we think about obsessive thoughts or persistent worries or preoccupation with the potential for storms or other severe weather events. And these thoughts can really have a great impact on daily life and our routines. We might experience forecast distress, those intense feelings of dread or panic when a storm is forecasted, even if it might not be severe. And individuals may feel unable to concentrate, or they may take excessive precautionary measures as it relates to forecasts. Also, just the general extreme fear during weather events, a dread or a panic when these events are actually here. But the dread or panic is oftentimes disproportionate to the actual risk. Um, and therefore, it can lead to behaviors of avoidance, right? Such as refusing to leave the house when certain weather events are going on. Clinical symptoms of weather anxiety, it can manifest physically. And those symptoms can resemble panic attacks or acute anxiety. So you might have chest pain, like tightness in your chest, discomfort. It can mimic symptoms of a heart attack. You can experience dizziness or fainting, lightheaded. And if the lightheadedness is persistent, then it can cause you to pass out or faint. You can have digestive issues. So, when your belly gets all butterfly-ish, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, this is a direct response to the body's stress response. Racing heart, irregular or super fast heartbeat, and that just makes the panic even worse. You might experience shortness of breath, and anytime fear is heightened, difficulty breathing can also heighten. And lastly, sweating, tremors. Again, these are physical reactions to stress. So you might experience these as well. Again, children are particularly susceptible to weather-related anxiety due to their heightened imaginations and also the limited understanding that they have around weather safety. Anyone with a past trauma, somebody who survived a hurricane or a tornado, it can cause an increase in vulnerability to this type of anxiety. It's really important that we understand the signs and symptoms of weather-related anxiety. It's the first step toward getting the help that might greatly be needed. And everybody should feel free to seek support. If you want to improve, if you want to get better, if you want to manage, there are a variety of avenues out there, whether it's mental health professionals or peer support groups, different wellness programs that are designed to address anxieties and traumas. In any case, if we recognize and we address early, we can improve our quality of life. And so that's the drive home point right there. Anxiety is real and it's measurable. And when you start to see more complex scale ratings, that is your indicator for when you should seek help. Yeah. Where these fears come from, again, it's uncertain. As I mentioned with the last slide, experts have some ideas, such as a history of a psychological trauma caused by a negative event with a weather element in your past. It could be that you have a sibling that has a similar history or experience, and so you've taken on that fear. But really, there's no real science, and it could be unrelated to either of these. So these terms all refer to different weather-related phobias, with astrophobia being the most common, and that represents a fear of lightning and thunderstorms. Another is lapsophobia, and that is an intense and irrational fear of tornadoes or hurricanes, and it's actually considered a type of astrophobia. Cyanophobia is an irrational and intense fear of snow, and individuals with cyanophobia may experience severe anxiety or panic attacks or have avoidant behaviors when they're exposed to snow or even the prospect of snowfall. Nephophobia, the fear of clouds, anchrophobia, or the fear of wind, or the irrational fear of rain, ombraphobia. Weather phobias affect about 1 in 10 Americans. So it's not as uncommon as one might think.
I'm gonna hop back in here. It is now time for different coping mechanisms and treatments. First, I'm going to take the lead, and then I'm going to pass it back to Commander Cooper here. So advice from us meteorologists to you from our local offices, make sure you have a plan. If you have a plan, you will be able to be prepared ahead of time, and that usually helps settle some of the anxieties of where am I going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to keep in contact with these people during these storms? Whether it is a freezing rain or winter event, or if it's a hurricane tornado event, or unfortunately the landslides like we saw in the east last year. Make sure you have 3 ways to receive warnings. There are multiple different ways to receive warnings. We'll go over it in a little bit, but you could have a weather radio, your cell phone, a television, computer, sirens outside. Those are meant to be heard outside though, so don't rely on hearing them indoors. And there's many other ways. Sometimes your local area has communications that you can sign up for. Make an emergency kit. You can find a how-to at this link here, ready.gov/kit. It'll walk you step by step on the best ways to prepare your emergency kit ahead of time and practice your plan, whether you have littles or you have pets or elderly. Practice your plan. That way you can make sure everyone knows what to do. If there are people who need extra time to get to their safe place, that is how you will find out how much time you need ahead of the storm to get to that safe place and to activate your plan. Some people may need more time, especially if you have several pets. You're going to have to find a way to bring all your pets into one spot and make sure everybody is safe. Like I said, the more you practice, the more you plan, the less those fears will overtake your life. Learn about the local warning systems like the outdoor sirens, mass notification systems. Sometimes your local emergency management will have opt-in text messages that will give you updates as to anything emergent that's going to go on in your community, whether there's a watch, a warning, sometimes even just Amber Alerts. These are very useful. And like I said, with the outdoor sirens, those are meant for those outside. If you are in a building, it is not meant for you to be able to hear it indoors. Make sure you learn about the weather, learn about its terms. The more I learned about the weather, the less afraid I got. In fact, it made me obsessed with the weather, and now I'm here talking to you about storm anxiety instead. You can attend our spotter classes. There's online courses you can take that are free. You can also just do some Googling of your own, watch the Weather Channel. The Weather Channel will be helpful along with any other local news channel that likes to do little tidbits on how the weather works. But the more you learn, the more power you're going to put over that fear. Another thing you can do is visit your local National Weather Service office. Reach out to wherever you're at, your local office, make a phone call, send an email, and we've heard from some people that have come to visit that just knowing where their forecast comes from and understanding that their warnings are being done by humans with emotions that we're trying to keep you safe, and physically seeing that area has helped them in overcoming their fear, that we are there for them when the time comes, if the time comes. Some little tips and tricks on how to cope outside of the typical knowledge stuff and how to learn more. Put on some durable shoes. Put on some boots, put on some tennis shoes. Even if there's no storms yet, even if there's no bad weather in your area, or if it's just rain, it just makes you feel a sense of security in case you did have to make a quick move. You already have your shoes on. Have your devices charged in case power goes out. That way you can communicate and have weather awareness. Charge all of your devices. Hang out in your safe spot. Even if there's no warnings issued yet, there's just pop-up thunderstorms around. If you sit in your safe spot, it'll make you feel more secure. You can even make it comfy, cozy, put some comfortable chairs. You can put your TV in there, bring your computer, just to have that sense of security. Just hang out in that safe spot. And then if there is a warning, you're already there. You don't have to go anywhere. You're prepared. If you still have television, turn on your local news channel. That way they focus solely on where the warnings are within your area. If you turn into a broadcast like the Weather Channel or any other national broadcast, Fox, CNN, whoever turns on the weather, they're going to focus on a national scale. So they're less likely to zoom in on your little area. They're more likely to zoom in on the big areas. So if you're in Chicago or Davenport or St. Louis, they're more likely to focus on there rather than our rural areas like Lincoln. If it's affordable for you, get a generator. It's very useful for when the power goes out. That way your devices stay charged. You can keep your fridge good and everything inside of it, because you never know how long the power is going to be out. It could be a couple of hours. It could be several weeks. You just never know. And once again, knowledge is power. The more you learn, the more secure you're going to feel and the less afraid you're going to feel. That is the thing to drive home today. Learn as much as you can, and it will help ease that fear, because you're going to be able to tell the difference between what is threatening and what is not threatening. But sometimes it does take more than knowing how to cope. And we are going to drill this home. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Storm anxiety is more common than anybody lets on. We're in this new age where people are talking about mental health and becoming your better self. So don't be afraid to ask for help from your friends, your families, a professional. If you're afraid of being a burden, be a burden. It's okay. It takes time to overcome your fears, but every little step you take makes up to a really big change. So now I'm going to pass it to Cammie to talk about some treatments on how you can cope better.
Absolutely. As it relates to coping strategies, coping strategies, that's how you reclaim your power. So just remember that, and start taking steps to reclaim your power. Also remember that all coping strategies aren't good strategies. So if you recognize some of these strategies, ask yourself if it's a sustainable plan or not. And if not, go back to the drawing board, experiment, figure out what works best for you. And if storm anxiety is significantly impacting your daily functioning, impacting your quality of life or relationships, it's when it's crucial to seek help from a mental health professional. Symptoms that persist, symptoms that worsen over time, despite any of these self-help efforts or coping strategies that you've implemented, may also be an indicator that professional intervention could be really helpful. Weather-related phobias really can be distressing, but there are effective self-led coping strategies to help manage your fears and to help build resilience. So just to kind of talk through some of the self-guided coping strategies, you can use relaxation techniques, deep breathing exercises. I'm not sure if you're familiar with box breathing, but you take 4 different steps. You breathe in for 4 seconds and you hold it for 4 seconds. You release it through your mouth for 4 seconds. And then at the bottom of that breath, hold it for another 4 seconds and repeat. Progressive muscle relaxation can release tension. So starting in your feet and tensing your muscles and relaxing. Same in your calves, all the way up to your eyebrows. Grounding techniques, engaging your senses, thinking about 5 things that you see, 4 things that you hear, 3 things that you smell, 2 things that you can feel. These types of relaxation techniques help to center you and kind of block out everything that's going on so that your mind has a second to find a little bit of peace, and then you can move forward. There are also cognitive behavioral strategies. And, really this is challenging that thinking. When you have these negative or catastrophic thoughts, challenge those thoughts sometimes. Reframe any negative perceptions of storms. So, remind yourself that they're natural, that they're temporary events. And really practice self-compassion and be kind to yourself. So some self-soothing statements are really helpful here. There's also exposure therapy, which, is a gradual desensitization, slowly increasing your exposure to storm-related stimuli in a controlled way, listening to recorded storm sounds in a safe space, watching videos of storms while you practice these relaxation techniques. This is a soft exposure that can really help to desensitize. Mindfulness practices. So engaging in meditation, mindful breathing to stay present and in the moment, accepting the unpredictability of weather rather than fearing it, and using visualization exercises to create your sense of safety. There are also some self-guided activities to regulate emotions. You can journal about your thoughts and your emotions, and use the journaling to help process your fears. You can engage in hobbies that bring you joy and that are a distraction, a healthy distraction for you. You can also spend time in nature, weather permitting, to build comfort with the natural elements. And again, there is that place where it's time to seek the professional support. And so while the self-led strategies can really be highly effective, it's okay to need another level of support. And clinicians can help. Clinicians can help by providing cognitive behavioral therapy, again, challenging the thinking, reframing anxious thoughts. They can help by, guiding a more structured exposure therapy to help to kind of gradually reduce these fears. They can also engage you in trauma-informed supportive care if your past weather-related experiences are contributing to your distress. It's real. Weather anxiety is real. With the right tools, though, whether self-led or clinician-supported, it's possible to build confidence and to regain your control. Effectively managing anxiety may potentially involve a combination of therapeutic approaches, including medication for some of the more severe symptoms, and motivational strategies to help to build that resilience and personal growth. Some medications for severe anxiety symptoms may include SSRIs or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. You might be familiar with some such as Zoloft or Prozac. And these medications help to reduce the serotonin levels in the brain. And the regulation can help improve your mood. It can gradually reduce anxiety over time. These medications are typically prescribed for more long-term management, and you would be monitored by a healthcare provider regularly. Another medication that can be used to treat benzodiazepines, and you might have heard of Ativan or Xanax. These are those like quick fix, rapid relief medications for acute anxiety. And because of that, they are really used short term or situationally because there is a risk of dependence with prolonged use. These medications should only be taken under strict medical supervision and according to the prescribed guidelines. Medication really can be an effective tool, but always should be prescribed by and monitored by a healthcare professional that has experience in treating anxiety disorders. A well-informed and personalized approach ensures effectiveness while minimizing risks. Motivation is key. It's key in coping with anxiety and staying committed to your mental well-being. Um, we need to build that resilience, right? And individuals are always going to be encouraged to push forward, even in difficult moments, because that's how we reinforce personal growth and mental strength. Um, we also can use the power of self-talk. Negative thoughts can intensify anxiety. So really try replacing them with affirmations to help shift that perspective. So instead of saying, I can't handle this, try, I'm doing the best I can. And right now that's enough. Practicing positive self-talk regularly builds that confidence and it really helps with emotional balance as well. Setting achievable goals is another tool to build resilience, starting with something small and realistic to build momentum, and gradually working toward longer term, larger objectives. It helps to reinforce the sense of purpose. And anything that's unmanageable, break it into manageable steps. Again, it's how we reclaim our power and how we move forward. Recognize that progress isn't always linear. Um, Setbacks are a part of the process. So be kind to yourself. We can go to the next slide. Seasonal affective disorder is a type of depression that occurs during a specific time of the year, most commonly the times where the winter months, limit our daylight. And it's important to recognize the connection between the change of seasons and mental health, especially for those that live in regions that might have prolonged darkness or experience storm-heavy seasons. What does it look like? It can manifest in a variety of ways, including low energy, persistent fatigue, making daily tasks feel really overwhelming. It can show up as irritability, which can impact our personal and professional relationships. It can show up as difficulty with concentration, which also can affect us in our work performance and decision making. It can impact our sleep and our appetite. We might sleep too much or have unusual cravings. And for some people, intensified fear or stress related to extreme weather can overlap with SAD. So dark, stormy days can exacerbate feelings of isolation and feelings of sadness. Heightened weather-related stress can increase fatigue, can increase sleep disturbances and irritability. And the unpredictability of storms can contribute to feelings of helplessness and intensify any depressive symptoms that might be there already. And understanding the connection is really important to manage mental health during storm seasons and winter months. Some things that we can do, light therapy. A light box that mimics natural sunlight can help to regulate mood and your energy levels. And it's important that you're consistent with this if you're using it during the darker months. Also, professional support, counseling, therapy, in severe cases, medication like antidepressants might be helpful. And lastly, life adjustments. Exercise regularly. It boosts endorphins and it decreases our stress. Practice mindfulness, the relaxation techniques. Do your best to establish a consistent sleep schedule. And again, spend time outdoors. It's manageable, but if you can recognize it early and get those interventions in, then it really helps with that self-care and minimizing its impact.
Thank you for that, Cami. So we're in the home stretch here before the Q&A starts. National Weather Service resources. What do we have available for you to help you put power over your fear? So one thing that we have, multiple different offices have it. I know Paducah has it, along with several others across the country, is a storm anxiety and stress website. This here can answer some more of your concerns or questions after the webinar is over if your question wasn't answered enough, or later on you come up with another question. This is also where you will be able to find the recorded webinar. You will find the recorded webinar on Central Illinois' website, which is what you see in this little computer screen here. It is also available in a Spanish translation if you know anybody that is going to need that Spanish translation. You can find it by going to the bottom of our website, weather.gov/ILX, and it's labeled Storm Anxiety and Stress. Your local office may have one that is tailored to your needs, so always check in there first. So during winter storms, winter's almost over, but not quite yet. There's still a couple more chances for some snow in some areas. Make sure you monitor your forecast, you prepare your home. You can find all of these graphics I'm going to show you on our websites as well. We post them from time to time. Prepare your vehicle, have your plan, and know what different words mean and what different headlines mean. Know when to have certain planning aspects done. Is it a few days out? Is the storm happening in the next day? Is it happening now? Is it over? What do you do for each phase ahead of the storm? And all of these planning aspects for winter storms can also be tailored to severe storms. With severe storms, a few days out, the outlook is issued. You make sure that you've got all of your supplies, any backup plans you need to make. The day before, you make those backup plans permanent if that's what you have to do. If you're going on a field trip, or if your family is going to the beach one day, and you see that there's going to be severe storms, maybe alter those plans the day before. And then the day of, be prepared and be ready to activate your plan. So some stages of the severe weather preparation. So first it comes out with outlooks, and those are provided by the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma. They provide us the outlooks of marginal, slight, enhanced, moderate, and high. They are several days ahead of time, even the day of, updated, straight from a national center. And then watches are done by collaboration between the Storm Prediction Center and your local office. So your local office does have a say in what those watches look like before they go out. And then finally, there's warnings, and that is solely your local office issuing those warnings. The people in your area are the ones watching out for your back and making sure that you have plenty of time to get to your safe space. We are watching, and we are trying our best to make sure that you have plenty of time to prepare. Make sure you have multiple ways to receive weather warnings. We mentioned this a minute ago. These are different ways: TV stations, weather radios, outdoor sirens, social media. I did see a question pop in about knowing where your weather is coming from. That is very important. If you follow storm chasers or your local TV broadcast mats, make sure you don't get inundated with information. Too much information can cause problems and can cause anxiety. Make sure you know where you're getting your weather information from and if they are reliable. What to do when you're on the road and there's a tornado. Please do not go underneath an overpass. That is a myth. Overpasses will not protect you. In fact, they will act as a wind tunnel and make the winds like 100 times worse than if you were just laying in a ditch or flat on the ground. Make sure that you can, if you absolutely can, find a building to go into, whether it's a restaurant, a gas station. Find somewhere with a sturdy bathroom or a walk-in fridge, freezer, and take shelter there. Or stay home or be close to home so you can go take shelter if needed. Try not to be outside. Once again, overpasses are a bad spot, trees are a bad spot, but if you do have to be on the road and you're out in the middle of nowhere, a ditch is your next best hope. The car is actually less safe during a tornado than just laying in the ditch. But we do not recommend it. Find a gas station or something nearby if you can. When the wind blows, sometimes the wind just blows on a breezy, blue sky day, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Us Central Illinois people know what I'm talking about. Iowa knows what I'm talking about. So in the areas that is flat, we can get some pretty intense blue sky wind days. Make sure you know where to go and what is safe and tie down those loose objects. If you're spending time outdoors, have an updated forecast. Make sure you can get a warning if a warning is issued and find the nearest shelter. If a warning is sent, act immediately. Some little fun facts here at the end. Tornadoes, you have a 1 in 12,000 chance of being struck by a tornado. And of those tornadoes, 80% of them are weak, what we consider EF0s and EF1s. Only 2% of tornadoes are on the violent end of the scale. That doesn't mean take it for a grain of salt, because if you get a warning, sometimes luck runs out and you do get that EF4 or EF5. So you want to be prepared no matter what. But keep in mind that 80%, our statistics show 80% are weak tornadoes. Lightning, you have a 1 in 15,000 chance of being struck. And those struck have a pretty good chance of survival. Snowstorms, if you're in the Midwest, most of them produce, I know this is a big range, 2 to 12 inches. It's a pretty big range, but most storms are within the lower to middle part, so probably more like 2 to 6, 2 to 8 instead. If you're in a flood-prone area, I know Kentucky, Indiana, Southern Illinois, they were having some flooding issues not too long ago. Make sure you know how to evacuate if you are in a flood-prone area, whether that's from rivers or flash flooding. Rivers do have a longer response time, so upstream you'll be able to see if there's flooding heading your way, giving you more time to prep. However, if you're near a small stream or creek, those react quicker and can cause flash flooding really fast, making it difficult to evacuate in some areas, but also still plenty of time if you listen to the warnings. With proper precautions, most severe weather is survivable. So that's why we teach you to learn. And if you do want to learn, go to our spotter talks. They're free. They're in your area. Keep an eye out on your local office's Facebook page, X page, or website. They will update them there. You can find the locations of where they're at. If they're in person, there are virtual options as well if you do not want to go out and about. Keep an eye out if there's any cancellations in your area. There may be a cancellation here or there due to weather or due to backup plans failing. So make sure you keep an eye out for any updates for your local storm spotter class. You can also do some online courses from Comet MetEd. They're free. Here's some suggested courses that you can take. And I will also post all of these PDF slides on our website where these links are working, I promise. For materials that are in a more accessible format, we have provided some links here on how to find some more of that information, such as those with deaf and hard of hearing family members or yourself. We do have 2 websites here that are for the Spanish-speaking communities. And then finally, weather safety materials for individuals with intellectual disabilities in order for everyone to be well informed and have everything in an accessible manner. You can also go to weather.gov/education/weather, and this is where you can find some kid-friendly things. If you're a teacher, you can take some of our materials and teach it in your class. You can also contact people if you would like a person to come to speak to your class or do it virtually. Or if you homeschool, this is a perfect place to find any weather material you need. Or if you just in general want to learn more to improve yourself and to put power over that fear, this is where you can go to find that information. And finally, this is a little blurb for my office. If you are in the Central Illinois or Southeastern Illinois area and you represent an underserved community with an organization, we are trying to find people that we can reach out to and figure out how we can improve our communication efforts with your community, whether that be non-English speaking, unhoused, low income, rural, elderly. Please reach out to us. We would love to be able to help you. And if you reach out to your local office, if you're not in the Central Illinois, I'm sure they can point you in the right direction as well. So I know that kind of ran over just slightly. Oh, actually, no, it's perfect. Look at that. I thought I was running behind. It's time for the Q&A portion. We want to say thank you so much for joining us. If you're not sticking around for the Q&A, There's some emails here for the people that are helping us answer questions tonight. Our website, weather.gov, you go there and click on the map wherever, and that's how you're going to find what office covers your county. So now is the Q&A. Thank you very much for logging in if you were leaving.